Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about 10 ways to foster the love of reading in your child. And if you stay till the end, you're going to get two bonus ways received specially from my 4-year old. My name is Nkemsinachi Ago from the Montessori Home Education Academy, and we're going to dive right in to see how you can build the love of reading in your child. I've got some complaints sometimes, maybe my child knows how to read but doesn't have any interest in actually reading books. You have to cajole and do all sorts of things to get them to read. Some other times it's like they haven't shown any interest in learning how to read. So whatever your reasons are, whatever what may have made this video catch your interest, why you want to learn about 10 ways to foster the love of reading in your child, I'm pretty sure you're going to get some good answers by the end of the video. So please make sure you stay true and also ensure you subscribe so that you can get more content like this, very beneficial for your children. Like I always say, parents are the first educators of our children, and even with time, the siblings can also become very good educators of their own siblings. So we'll start right away. Now, the first one I have here is providing visual cues with short text for everyday activities. So everyday activities would be like your routines. I got this very nice printable from the Montessori room. If you're part of our WhatsApp group, you would have received this link more than once. So this is very helpful because it shows simple activities, very clear pictures that everybody can easily guess, okay, this person is waking up, making their bed, using the toilet, brushing their teeth. And then when a child sees this, they are curious most times to ask, oh, what is written here? If they can read, they'll probably read it already. So already you're putting in different opportunities throughout the day for the child to read text. Because sometimes knowing how to read and maybe not feeling like using that skill is because you don't really see, you just learnt it for some kind of educational activity. But when you see that, okay, it can actually help you to read something, maybe what comes next, then it becomes more interesting. And also, if the child hasn't learned to read yet, it might make them curious. What does this mean? How can I read this? I want to know how to read. And when you get that question from your child, that's really a very big push for you to start teaching it, because whenever they ask that question or show that interest, it's the best time and they're more likely to receive it easily. So this is a very good example. Having these around the house, where it applies. Of course, not littering the whole place, but putting it in strategic points where they would typically see it. And like this is for wake up routine, so it will be near their bed or in their bedroom or wherever place they normally stay when they are doing most of the prep activities as they wake up. The second one we have is daily affirmations. Now, I have some daily affirmations. They are handwritten, so this is God made me a beautiful girl, he loves me and I love him. So I wrote it with my hands and my daughter watched me while I wrote it. So two things being done. She's seeing that I'm writing, she's getting interested in writing, and she sees that writing is actually beneficial. When you have a thought, you write it down. Because again, sometimes we might find ourselves pushing our children, oh right, trace this letter, trace this number, and there is no end in mind, there's no benefit, it's just like an activity, it's like an assignment. But when you can see that, oh, you think of something, you can actually write it down, it makes it interesting. Now, I like to laminate because it helps it to last longer. If this is something that the child is going to be handling often and on, you want to make sure it doesn't just get torn within a couple of days. And then I use binder rings to hold them together. Then around the house, I have these command hooks that you just hang on the wall. It doesn't damage the wall. If you use nails, that's also okay once you're fine with that. And then they can easily just pick this up and read it to themselves if they can read. Occasionally, you can even put in some words that may be complicated. So, like my 4-year-old, she can read most of the 3-letter words and some 4-letter words as long as they are phonetic, and even some bigger ones. But some that are not really phonetic, um, then if she struggles, I can now tell her, okay, this is this. So you see an opportunity to teach how to read a particular word because you've put it in deliberately. So affirmations, whatever affirmations you normally use at home, just have them in specific places, because truly sometimes we have these plans, but because it's not written anywhere, and we don't even get the reminders often to tell them these affirmations. But if you hang it where they can see it, they can affirm by themselves, right? Now the third one we have here is labeling items in the home. So typically in the Montessori curriculum, there's a stage where you will get to, and the child is learning how to read, and you have items around the home you can just label, right? So you can do this in your kitchen, you can do this in the living room, you can even do this in the closet, in their closet, right? Maybe you label this for trousers, label this for shorts, and all that. And again, this is making them stumble on reading all the time without necessarily planning it. And just being able to, these are things that helps to build that interest. Remember, we're trying to foster the love of reading. We're not trying to make them read a billion books, because it's the love of reading that will get them to now start reading those books. So labeling items in the home. I did an activity in the parenting program where you'll even label it in different languages. So if you're learning a different language, you can even try that. But if for the regular English language, for the Montessori English language curriculum, you just put labels around the house. It also helps when you're thinking of organizing things or putting things in order. So if you have plates are normally kept here, cups are kept here, simple everyday activities, just label it. So when you say put this back, they know where each thing goes. And then they are reading, every meal. So that's already at least 3 times a day, or however many times with snacks and all that. Another one we have here is having books everywhere. Now, especially with devices all around, sometimes it can be tricky, but having books in different parts of your home, not just in one room, that you might have a library that is fine, but unless you have a dedicated period, or always go to the library at this time, at that time, it ends up taking the reading away from the regular activities of the day. So in every room that the children will typically stay, make sure you have books, and even for yourself. So this is why I tend to encourage parents to also get hard copies of books, because if you're with them and you're reading a book on your phone, on your tablet, it's going to be hard to explain. I mean, you could explain that, but it's taking you away from them. But if they see you reading a hard copy book, even if it's a manual, a magazine that is kid friendly, they might come in, oh, what is this? What is that? That is reading taking place. And again, they are seeing it as something that can be done as a hobby, as a pastime. It's no longer something strange or just for passing exams. So having books everywhere, even in the car, which is one of the places where sometimes there's that temptation to resort to devices. Oh, let me have peace, just take this. This is another opportunity where they can even flip through picture books, even if they haven't started reading. Because from flipping through picture books, by the time they start noticing that, okay, books are made up of pictures and text, and these texts are made up of letters, you get the letter sounds, they start developing that interest. And even if they're already older, it's still an opportunity. Oh, I'm bored. Well, just pick up that book in front of you. And all of a sudden, the book becomes more interesting than it would normally be when you have too many options of toys to play with at home or wherever you are coming from or going to. Now, the fifth one is having a dedicated reading or story time. Most people use like before bedtime or before nap time, after breakfast, whatever it is. It's good you have at least one part of your day, one time in your day, where you say this is where we must always read, or we must always read before doing this or after doing that. That way, no matter what happens in that day, you'll probably not miss it, because every day, again, it's a skill you're trying to build. You're trying to build that interest and that frequency. Reading every day, before you know it, now becomes a habit, and then you even start reading without, just like, it just makes you, they get excited to read. They get excited for the story you're going to tell them. And when it's predictable, especially for children, routines are very good. It's very predictable. It helps them to begin to look forward to it. And even when they now start reading, or when they're able to read, then they can do it for themselves, whether you're there or not. Okay, another one we have is personalized stories. Have you ever found a scene where you're telling the child about a story and they're the center of the story? Oh, there was a girl named this or a boy named that, and you put their name. They get so interested, even though they know you're making it up, right? So you can tell these stories orally. You can also write them down. In fact, that makes it more powerful, because then they have to read the text, or you have to read the text, and they see you're reading a story from a book or from a paper. You can basically make even a simple notebook. You can staple papers together, use a marker, and write it down very neatly. A story about them. Oh, there was a boy named this. One day he did this. Just draw funny sketches. You've made a perfect book. Not everything has to be bought. Sometimes it's just a little of your time that is even more. With time costs so much, right? So sometimes that is even so much more effective. If you see your child is really not interested, write a story about them, a very short, simple story about their day. Oh, one day this girl woke up and she did this, she ate that, and she did this and did that. 4 pages, 5 pages, you're done. And they'll be coming back to that story over and over again. And if they're older, you might now even motivate them to start writing their own stories, because they realize that it's not magic, right? It's written by people for people, and you sketch what you like, you write about what you like, you read about what you like. So personalizing the stories also helps to spark their interest in reading and also writing. Another one is having books with real or realistic pictures. Um, a very good example is child-friendly magazines, because magazines, you won't really be seeing cartoons there, right? You'll see maybe pictures of groceries, even grocery flyers, right? Or pictures of animals or pictures of human beings. These are all things that are more interesting, especially for the younger ones, the 0 to 6 year olds, where they are more interested in real life. As much as it looks like they like cartoons, when they see a real life picture or something that looks close to the real as possible, you'll see they actually get more interested. So if you have too many cartoony books, they're not picking interest. You have a lot of big-headed books, animals talking, and all those things. Go back to regular things. You can even create again with the family album, for example, have their own pictures there. They can look through this and then put in a little text here and there. This can be handwritten, this can be with a small paper, and then you stick it beside each picture. Oh, this is this person doing this is that person doing that. Again, real life pictures, you can create your own, you can buy, you can borrow from the library, but those are usually more attractive to them to read. So if you see, again, they haven't been picking interest in the books you already have, go and review them, see what they look like. Are they too fictitious or too cartoony? Then go back to something more realistic. Another good one is peer-to-peer reading. So children like to be given responsibility. So if you have an older child that can read and a younger one that cannot read, pair them so that, oh, come and read to your brother, come and read to your sister. It just elevates them in a way that is like, I can read, I can do this. They just suddenly take on that, feel like that mommy daddy role, and you see them reading it very happily. Again, they begin to realize they take pride in what they are doing, and now beyond reading to their siblings, they can also read to themselves when they're interested. Maybe a story that they were not curious about before gets them curious. So giving them that responsibility elevates them in a way that they now take it with pride that, oh, they can read and they can do this, and they can even teach somewhat their siblings to read. The ninth one is books based on their interests. So this is an example again in our WhatsApp community. I shared how my daughter, the younger one, almost 2, was getting very interested in rocks. So we had this. This is Little Kid's first big book of rocks. So she has actual rocks in a small container. I didn't bring that near me, but she would pour the rocks on the book and then be looking at them and saying, rock, rock, you know. But if I bring a book about something else that she's not necessarily interested in at that time, she may not really be that curious. Again, they will start with picture books, but most of the picture books still have some text here and there. And by the time they start getting older, they'll be going back to those books. Imagine books you used to read to them before, now they read it to themselves. It's very exciting. So pick things that actually interest them. Of course, we want them to learn, we want them to learn about this, about that, but start from their point of interest. From that point of interest, they go back to the book over and over again. Then you begin to introduce the ones that are connected to it and things maybe you actually want them to learn for one reason or the other. So that's another one. Um, Text slash graphics based on something they're learning. So my daughter, the older one, has been asking about maybe how to tell the time. So we have this clock that we just used, took off the glass covering, and I made a small printable for her. Again, this is picture, so graphic and text. Now imagine putting this beside a real clock so your child can tell the time, or maybe still kind of learning about it, and you hook this near the clock in your home. It means if they want to compare, oh, what's the time? What does this mean? Maybe they can read and then they can compare the picture. And this is a very good opportunity to practice and see the importance of reading, because when you don't see why something is important, you'll be less interested in doing it, right? So um, those are really, I think, the top 10 examples. There are so many more. I'm sure if you start trying this out, you begin to see, oh, this is really working, this is really working. You'll come up with more on your own. If you have them already, please share them in the comment sections for others to benefit. And like I promised, at the end of the video, I'm going to share, which is now right about now, 2 extra points that came from my daughter, because I asked her, oh, I want to talk to parents about how to encourage their children to read. So tell me what makes you to love reading. And so the first thing she shared was journals. So she has a small journal where sometimes when she's back, we ask, oh, how was your day? What did you do? What did you do? And she says, I played with this person. We're writing it for her, right? Because she's not really writing well yet. So before we write a new entry, she likes to go back to the previous day. she might see the pictures that we sketched or she sketched. She might try to read out what was written there before. So the journals was something she pointed out as something that helps her to like reading or enjoy reading. And I think it's really very valid. It goes back to the point about loving to read about themselves. They really tend to focus on that for quite a few years. Um, so if you don't have a journal for your kids, that's something you can get, even if they haven't started writing or reading, because again, it's like making a diary for them, and they can go back to it, put small sketches, tell them stories about it, and as they begin to read, it becomes so valuable to them and to you again. The second point she raised was why she loves reading is the soup book. So I asked her to elaborate on it, and this is the book she was referring to. We got this from the library. It's called Making Soup by Sarah Andrews. So I asked her, why do you like it? She said, inside looks like the corn and the soup. So this is the corn and this is the soup. Yeah, so this is for kindergarten readers. She was able to read through fairly well. She was able to read through fairly well. I'm not sure I had to help with any of the words, but um, I think the simplicity of the story is what really stood out to me. I think so. What I noted here is that this book is easy to read. It's very interesting. Making soup. She actually has this toy pot with some pictures of making acorn soup, right? So she just puts it inside. Maybe she connects to that. She also says she wants to get a book about making okra soup. So that's also soup we make at home. I'm already getting ideas about how to make a book like that for her. It could simply be pictures. Next time I'm making the soup, maybe take pictures, staple it together, put a few texts. That's the book ready for her to read, and she's going to probably read it for a while. So let's get creative. Don't overthink things. Start with, if they're beginning readers, try to make sure you're choosing beginner books. Don't go and choose something so complicated because you heard this other person's child is reading at that level, and then they are struggling. They are asking you for the pronunciation of 10, almost every word on the page. That's not a good way to start, right? So make it very simple, um, and easy and interesting for them. And start creating books for your own kids. Very simple books. Once you make it neat, you can handwrite it, you can write it on a good card. It's very clear, very legible, and very easy to read. And they're going to love it because they even saw you writing it, and it will foster their own love to begin to create their own books. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you subscribe. If you have more ideas of what has worked for you and your kids, getting them to love reading, please put it in the comments as well. And if you want more information on our Montessori home education program or other activities that we have, also check the video description. And until next time, I hope to see you all again. Thank you. Bye bye.